going on YouTube? It's your boy ThatSingerReactions coming to y'all. This is a special request by my best friend. This is the top 8 best black wrestlers wrestling with regret. Let me see. Before I even do this, let me think in my head. The Rock should be number 1. Let's just get that out the way. Don't give me he's a black boy. Alright? He's number 1. Number 2 should be like Booker T. Right? God, I actually don't know. I'm sitting here trying to form an entire list right here on the spot. All I know is that The Rock better be number 1. That's all I know. Let's jump into this. Don't forget my Patreon is in the description. Of course, I'm not going to forget, but you get exclusive access, early content, and special requests. You can do CashApp, you can do PayPal. Any of that is cool. And yeah, don't forget my P.O Box is in the description. So, let's jump into this, y'all.
And I'm an actual black man, and I approve of this video.
Let's go. I love his videos, but he always like half blocking his video. But wrestling with regret.
Folks, Black History Month is about to wrap up, and so this week I thought it'd be appropriate to honor and celebrate some of the grapplers who paved the way for future generations while also influencing hundreds of wrestlers of all colors. This week, I'm going to rank them, the top 8 best black wrestlers of all time. Number 8, Ron Simmons. Though younger fans might only know him for his monosyllabic catchphrase, Ron Simmons did way more in his career than just say a single word in a funny way. A star on Florida State University's football team, Simmons went pro but found himself out of the sport when the USFL folded in 1986. The former Seminole found a new career in pro wrestling, and over time, he and Butch Reed dominated the tag team scene in WCW as part of Doom. During their time together, Doom feuded with the...
I ain't even gonna lie to you. I didn't know... I knew he started out as Ron Simmons, but I didn't know he was even a part of another tag team prior to him and Stevie Ray.
Rock and Roll Express, the Steiners, the Road Warriors, the Freebirds, and others, a veritable who's who of legendary teams.
He's been out
in
for
August
a
of
year.
1992, after Doom had broken up, Simmons was in the right place at the right time. A scheduled WCW title match between Sting and the champion Vader was canceled when Sting was out with a kayfabe injury. WCW President Bill Watts held a raffle to determine a new #1 contender, and it was Simmons' name that was drawn. The night ended with Ron power slamming the bejesus out of the Mastodon and becoming wrestling's first black world champion, a title he would hold for 5 months. After a brief stint in ECW, Simmons would eventually go to the WWF, and although his first few months involved the silly blue Nerf helmet, he was taken more seriously.
When was this? Hold on. Wait, when was this? I thought Farouk, Farouk, that's what I was calling. I thought Farouk was Ron Simmons first, then Farouk. Like, that's what I thought it was. I didn't know, like, who was this blue? I mean, come on with this Marvel
with Ron
and DC
power slamming the bejesus out of the Mastodon and becoming wrestling's first black world champion, a title he would hold for 5 months. After a brief stint in ECW, Simmons would eventually go to the WWF, and although his first few months involved the silly blue Nerf helmet, he was taken more seriously when he founded the Nation of Domination. He never wore singles gold after WCW, but he did hold the tag team titles 3 times as part of the APA with Bradshaw, one of the most hard-hitting and entertaining tag teams of the era. Simply put, Ron Simmons was a man you didn't step to. Now that's worth a damn. Number 7, the Junkyard Dog.
I knew he was going to be in there. I ain't even gonna lie to you, I've never seen a match with Junkyard Dog ever in history. So, interesting to see where he is playing.
One of the most electrifying and charismatic wrestlers of his generation, Sylvester Ritter captivated audiences as the Junkyard Dog. Originally getting his big break at Stampede Wrestling, Ritter found even greater fame working as one of the top stars in Mid-South Wrestling under head booker Bill Watts. JYD's most famous storyline in Mid-South had to be when the fabulous Freebirds blinded him just before his daughter was born, an angle that got so much heat that the Freebirds needed police escorts in and out of arenas. The Dog signed on to the WWF just as the company was starting to blow up, and thanks to his style and
Like, what? This is all new information to me. I didn't know none of this, bro.
Character that was beloved by kids and adults, was an integral part of the company's success during that initial golden era. Though he never won a title, he was involved in major feuds with people like Harley Race, the Funk Brothers, and Greg Valentine. He was also the winner of the Wrestling Classic, the first WWF pay-per-view in history. A natural babyface who was easy to get behind and a vital piece of the WWF machine during the first golden era, as recognizable as guys like Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Snuka, the Junkyard Dog made believers out of a generation of fans.
Mark Henry should be on here.
Number 6, Abdullah the Butcher. When you think of some of the bloodiest death matches in wrestling history, you think of Abdullah the Butcher. Billed as the madman from the Sudan, despite having never actually been there in real life, Abby has traveled the globe hundreds of times over, wrestling some of the most barbaric matches of all time. Rarely without his trusty fork, his crimson-coated battles of left...
Did he just stab him with that fork for real? That wasn't nothing fake about
matches
it.
of all time.
That was
Rarely
a
without
plastic
his trusty fork, his crimson-coated battles have left indelible scars on himself and his opponents, not to mention the psyche of his fans. Considered a special attraction in most places because he rarely stayed in one territory for long, the Butcher had some classic rivalries. Terry Funk has said that one of his 3 greatest matches was against Abdullah in Japan. Abby's wars with Bruiser Brody showed that wrestlers who didn't fit the traditional mold or wrestle in the traditional style could still draw in a big way.
They hit for
Abdullah
real,
the Butcher may never have won a world championship, but his legacy of violence and brutality over 5 decades has left a lasting impact on professional wrestling. Number 5, Booker T. One of the most celebrated black athletes of the modern era, Booker T has a well-padded resume that gets him on this list. Starting up in the business with brother Stevie Ray, Booker T excelled in tag team action for years before finally breaking out on his own as a single star in WCW. Winning almost every title there was to win multiple times over, he was one of their hottest acts and became the most decorated wrestler in company history.
Pause, I don't know about number 5 though. Like, man, I mean, I'm glad he's on the list. Would I put him above Mark Henry though? I mean, would I put Mark Henry, but like, because Mark Henry got to be on the list. Like,
who didn't love the Spinneroonie? Who didn't love G.I. Bro? Okay, bad example. He did have a rocky beginning in WWE, playing an important role in the WCW-ECW alliance, but still relegated to second banana status and the occasional joke fodder. But through his partnership with Goldust and his eventual ascent to the top of the SmackDown roster as world champ, the Booker man persevered and cemented his status as a legend. Now dig that, sucka. Number 4, Bobo Brazil. Considered by many to be responsible for breaking down wrestling's color barrier in the 1960s, Bobo Brazil forever changed the way black grapplers were portrayed.
Pause. If Coco Beware is on here, I'm going to go ahead and cut this right on off. Right on off. Play.
Getting a start in Detroit in the early 1950s, Brazil initially worked almost exclusively with other black wrestlers. But over time, fans embraced the charismatic Bobo, skin color be damned, and demanded they see him in higher profile bouts. Among his many accolades, he was the first black wrestler to win the NWA United States title, and he also beat the original Sheik for the Detroit version of the belt, breaking Sheik's 2-year run as champion. And even though Ron Simmons is officially the first black world's heavyweight champion, technically Bobo Brazil gets that distinction. Bobo defeated Buddy Rogers for the NWA World title in 1962, but initially refused the belt after the Nature Boy went down with an apparent injury. He was eventually awarded the title and lost to Rogers in the rematch. Because of his initial refusal of the belt, and because the title change happened outside...
Look at the promotion back then. That's how they did it. Wrestling tomorrow, August 18th at 8:30 p.m. Buddy Rogers versus Bobo Brazil, Hillbillies and Cousin Alfred. Kangaroos, and I don't even know who those other people
and lost to Rogers in the rematch. Because of his initial refusal of the belt, and because the title change happened outside of the NWA's jurisdiction, Bobo's brief run isn't officially recognized. But despite that asterisk, Bobo was the first black man to win the world championship. For that and his ability to break through segregation in the squared circle, Bobo Brazil is one of the all-time greats. Number 3, Thunderbolt Patterson. When you think of the all-time great big names in wrestling, Thunderbolt...
Pause. I don't like the fact that we getting down to the wire and they naming people I ain't heard of. I get you doing people who paved the way, but we're doing top 8 best black wrestlers.
Patterson doesn't usually rank very high. I didn't even know who this guy was until a couple of years ago, and I've been following wrestling for almost 2 decades. But the more
Wait, did he just say the same thing I just said?
You think of the all-time great big names in wrestling, Thunderbolt Patterson doesn't usually rank very high.
Right.
I didn't even know who this guy was until a couple of years ago, and I've been following wrestling for almost 2 decades.
Hello?
But the more I've looked into his career, the more I realize just how important he is to the business.
Okay,
A journeyman of the territories, Patterson worked in several regions across the country and in Canada, but was blacklisted at one point due to his outspoken nature against poor working conditions for wrestlers. He sued promoters over alleged racial discrimination, worked for promotions outside of the NWA, and briefly pushed to start a labor union for wrestlers. All the behind-the-scenes squabbles aside, Patterson had a style and personality that broke the mold of a traditional showman wrestler, one that both directly and indirectly influenced wrestlers for years to come.
He
basically invented the shuckin' and jivin' style of wrestling that's still being done to this day. His engaging promos were not unlike those...
about the whole Dusty Rhodes.
The shuckin' and jivin' style of wrestling that's still being done to this day. His engaging promos were not unlike those of a preacher, a style that would be practically taken whole cloth by guys like Dusty Rhodes.
I never heard of him.
You say I've been out a long time? Well, all you got to do is get in the cycle, or I will whoop your... Yep. You know, I'm minded that way. I'm geared to offense, you understand? I'm geared to moving.
A former NWA US champion, tag team champion, and a Florida heavyweight champion, his tangible accomplishments in the ring pale in comparison to the stylistic influence felt by wrestlers of all colors today. Number 2, The Rock. When people say there's never been a black WWE champion...
Let me tell you why I'm pissed off. Number 1, The Rock is number 2, which means Mark Henry did not make this list. He did not make the list because there's no way he's number 1. So I know he's not on here. They didn't put Kamala on here. I don't know. Because maybe I'm just naming black wrestlers, but best black wrestlers? Nah, Kamala wouldn't be the... But Jesus Christ. Who number 1?
And a lot of fans are going to point out The Rock. Other people will say, well, he's only half black, so you know, which is incredibly unfair and insulting. Whether you want to agree or not, The Rock is a black athlete. Saying he's not black enough for it to count does a disservice to his lineage.
That's stupid.
He's a third-generation wrestler, and the most recent generation before his was his father, an African-Canadian. You know, the guy whose nickname was Soul Man. Beyond that, I don't need to tell you why The Rock is so high on this list. Amazing athlete, 5-star talker, unbelievable charisma, one of the biggest global stars in wrestling history.
How is he number 2?
That's pretty much all you need to know. Before we find out who made number 1 on this list, here are some honorable mentions. Jay Lethal. One of the best wrestlers not to sign with WWE, at least at the time of this recording, Jay Lethal has done just about everything else worth doing. After a memorable run in TNA, including 6 X Division title reigns and a popular stint as Black Machismo, Lethal got serious in Ring of Honor, eventually becoming a dual champion. He recently held the World Championship for 427 days and the TV title for 567 days. As one of the best technical wrestlers alive today, at only 31 years of age, all signs point to Lethal staying great for many years to come. Kamala. One of the most feared heels of the 1980s, Kamala was a scary-looking dude, even though all accounts say James Harris, the man behind the makeup, is anything but. A gimmick that was concocted in Memphis, naturally, the Ugandan giant traveled the globe, making kids piss their pants no matter what language they spoke. In his career, Kamala battled such legendary figures as Hulk Hogan, The Undertaker, and Bryan Danielson? One of the first examples of a terrifying monster gimmick that became a beloved comedic figure, Kamala went from biting the heads off of live chickens to learning how to bowl with Reverend Slick. A character that, honestly, would not fare well in today's environment, Kamala had a look and a style that's been copied.
Who is number 1,
since.
bro?
Bad News Allen. One of wrestling's legit tough guys, Allen's best work could be found in Stampede Wrestling.
Where's Vince? Where's Big Daddy V?
Allen's tough loner gimmick was unique for the time. He attacked faces and heels with equal vigor, a trait not unlike Steve Austin's during his big run of the company. He never smiled on camera unless it was to laugh at another wrestler's shortcomings. After feuding with the likes of Jake Roberts, Randy Savage, and Roddy Piper, Allen left the company in 1990.
I'm super confused right now.
Vince didn't make good on his promise to make him world champion. But for fans, his legendary presence in the ring more than makes up for the lack of a title. Awesome Kong. There are a handful of black women who've left a lasting legacy in wrestling, but ultimately I have to give the nod to Awesome Kong here. With her unique look and hard-hitting style, Kong has become a legend both in Japan and the United States. The TNA Knockouts division owes practically everything to Kong and her perennial rival Gail Kim, who together legitimized...
Pause. Hold on. Man, I don't know about this list. So wait, if you gonna praise the women, you wouldn't praise Jacqueline as she was the first black female world champion, female. She was the first women's champion, black African American women's champion. Y'all go to Awesome Kong? What is this based on? I don't play.
The division in a major way. Plus, she allegedly beat up Bubba the Love Sponge backstage at a TNA show, so major props for that too. Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas. Consider this team 8B on the list, since I had a hard time picking between them and Ron Simmons for the official countdown. Individually, the two wrestled for decades all over the world, winning championships everywhere they went. Both were also known for their incredible physiques and their charismatic performances. Together, the two became the first pair of black wrestlers to win the WWF Tag Team titles after defeating the Wild Samoans in 1983. Atlas would go on to become Saba Simba, which was sad, but Atlas does credit the gimmick for saving his life. And of course, Johnson had a hand in creating number 2 on this list, and he helped train him to wrestle too. Akeem. Kidding, I'm kidding. And the number 1 best black wrestler of all time is Ernie Ladd. Ernie Ladd was one of those very rare...
Who the hell is Ernie Ladd? How did you have a... I'm mad a little bit. You just named a bunch of wrestlers. And you didn't name Mark Henry? You didn't name Mark Henry?
Individuals.
Not even in honorable mentions? Not Mark Henry? Stop the nonsense.
Only one of the best in professional wrestling, but also in a legitimate sport. After having dominated the gridiron in the AFL, Ladd quit football in his physical prime to become a professional wrestler because it made him more money.
Sure.
That's confidence in your ability. Ernie Ladd is regarded as the first black heel in pro wrestling. I find it hard to believe there wasn't one person who ever booked a wrestling show before the 1970s to make a black man hated by design, but Ernie took that mantle and ran with it at a time when the battle for civil rights was engulfing the United States. In an era where kayfabe still ruled the land and desegregation was a relatively new concept, you could argue that Ladd was incredibly brave to be a dastardly heel at this time. It would be an understatement to call Ladd outspoken, as the man delivered an endless torrent of trash talk to his opponents. He would be loud, brash, braggadocious, rude, and racist toward everyone regardless of skin color. He would drive fans insane with his rhetoric before even locking up.
Cody Atlas, we're going to send him back to Africa, no question about it. He's gone to the bottom of the barrel to get old Thunderbolt out of the barrel. Holler, a yick, 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 a yuck, yuck, yuck. Indian, I know you're somewhere full of whiskey and looking at that television.
Albert. Oh, I just get so sick down inside it make me want to throw up just thinking about how bad I would like to slap your face.
Ladd was able to back up his harsh words with his unique combination of size, strength, and agility, a skill set that made him worthy of the Big Cat moniker. After spending a decade with the WWF, Ladd would go on to work for Mid-South Wrestling as a wrestler and later a manager and booker. While in Mid-South, he was instrumental in building number 7 on this list, the Junkyard Dog, as their company's top draw. For his dominating physical presence in the ring, for his ability to talk fans into the arena like almost no other, and for his contributions both in front of and behind the camera, Ernie Ladd is my pick for the best black wrestler of all time.
I'm about to go to the comments.
Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it. Come on.
I'm definitely about to watch this. Where Mark Henry? There is no way. When was this made? It don't even matter. What? How was Mark... Well, okay, this is 2017. I think even Mark Henry was about champion. I don't even know if he was champion around this time. But the Halls of Pain or whatever, that run that he went on. How is Kamala on this list? That's the only person I got a problem with. How is Mark Henry not on this list? How is Vincera not on this list? He was the King of the Ring guy. He won King of the Ring. Mark Henry fought Undertaker. He had some legendary stuff. Like, he's a world champion. The strongest man. Like, I can't comprehend how Mark Henry didn't make the top 8 best black wrestlers in any aspect. Whatever. Oh, I done threw my headphones off. I forgot. Thank y'all so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. Follow me on all my social media platforms. Everything is in the description to the next video. Peace.